Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm here with my friend,
Bill McKenna.
and I'm Liz Larson. And today we are talking about the very fun and very exciting topic of apathy. What I
That
like
sounds
to,
about as boring as can be, Liz. Apathy, come on.
but I like to refer to it as the lay in the road emotion. Where that's about all you have the energy for is to go lay in the road. But there is something super exciting about talking about apathy is that, the opposite of it is huge. It means doing everything. It means productivity, it means ideas, it means inspiration. And there's a way out of apathy that most people have never considered because they don't really know what it is. And you, Bill McKenna, we were talking yesterday, you said, it really is as simple as it's a neurological disorder, but nobody thinks about that. Tell everybody why you say that.
Well, it's really not in the DSM or actually qualifies, I think, as
Right.
a real disorder. But I like to think of it as a disorder because it literally is simply a state that you can't get out of, and it's neurological. Literally, you feel like, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. It doesn't make a difference. I literally am so stuck. And this stuck feeling that you have, it actually goes beyond just a stuck feeling. It is stuck thoughts. It is a neurological pattern that you literally can't find your way out of. And, if you think about it, if you what you just said a minute ago is that the opposite of this apathy. I like to use the example of Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, one thing that you can't deny is the man ain't stuck. When you think that you got this guy, I like to use the martial art examples. You think you got this person, a rear naked choke, you're going to choke this guy out, no way. That guy is going to twist and he is going to flip. And next thing you know, you're getting choked out. He's incredible. He has ideas. He's never stuck. Never. He does things that nobody even conceives that they even think possible. And he actually does it. There's a lot of ideas, people. Prison is filled with them. But he is a guy who goes out and actually implements, does. And when people feel like, putting their feeling on him of stuckness, he's not doing it. So this is really nothing more than a thought process. What separates us from him? It's simply he has not only the ideas, but he has also the actual horsepower to implement. He'll stay up and work because he has the energy. When we are hampered by this, what I like to I shouldn't call it a neurological disorder, but this neurological limitation, then we don't have the energy, even if we did have the idea.
If you think about the word disorder, it's out of order. It's in the wrong order. It's not ordered correctly, is really what the term means. But in medicine, it is equal to a disease, right? But really all it means is something is not functioning at its optimal. It's in the wrong order. It's not doing the right thing. And so with apathy, with that stuck feeling, apathy is a stuck feeling, but it's even worse than that. Like a lot of times in apathy, you don't even know you're stuck because you just can't even get up that much energy, right? It's like the energy of Eeyore. You know, Eeyore. Oh
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
nobody loves me. So it's interesting that you said the word prison, that prison is full of a lot of people with great ideas, or they're not good ideas, but they have ideas, right?
Yeah.
But apathy is a prison in itself. There's the prison of apathy, because an apathy, it's so hard to get out of your own way. You're not even down in shame where you're blaming people and cussing people out. You're not even in guilt where you're blaming yourself. You're really just in a flat line. The prison analogy is an interesting thing because someone I knew in prison said,
Wait. You said somebody you knew in prison. Where did you go to prison, Liz
no,
Larson?
let me restate that. Someone I knew that had been in prison
Oh.
said
That's very
that
different. That's
exactly,
very, very different, Liz.
very different. So when they got out, they said they didn't really want to get out. And they said the reason was that in prison, everything's done for you day after day, it's all the same, right? But when you get out of prison, you have to now start supporting yourself. You have to go get a job. You have to have interaction with relatives, maybe that you don't like, or friends or relationships, right? In prison, you can stay stuck. It's by force, but you don't have to face the rest of life. Now, it has its own challenges and it sucks. Nobody was saying it was good, but the outside world was scarier. And in apathy, that's what can happen. You can end up in a prison where you do nothing. You don't go anywhere. You don't do anything. You don't get out of your own way. And that can become, in some ways, a safety. If I don't take my idea out into the world, I don't get it shut down. If I don't take my heart out into the world through a relationship, I don't get hurt. I don't have the pressure of everything else that's going on. Of course, I'm miserable, but at least I don't have that. So it creates this prison for people. And I think that saying it's a disorder, in a way, is very correct, in that it really just means that your system, your nervous system, the pathway between your brain and body, has decided that this is a way to keep you safe and alive, and keeps you just plain imprisoned. If you understand this, and you understand that it's not the truth, it's just what's happening in your body right now. It's not that you're lazy. It's not that you are believe the world's impossible. It's just that there's a part of your body that does. And that's the thing that can be changed. That's why I was saying it can be really, really exciting if you understand what the flip side of it is. But we've got to get the system, we've got to convince the system to get out of that loop, out of the pattern.
That's it. And here's the interesting thing. I don't know if you've ever tried to talk somebody out of despair, try to talk somebody out of apathy. It is one of the most difficult things. Oftentimes you may find the people that are hoarders. And if you're trying to talk them out of it, it's like you're going to get an awful lot of resistance. And here's the thing about it is that you think like, oh my God, this person is so very stuck and they won't even do what's in their own best interest.
Yeah.
They won't get out of bed. They won't take a shower. They're in despair. They can't see the good in anything. And here's the thing is that if they understood that some very, very basic movement will help to begin to change your mind. Cognomovement is really part of it. Part of it is cognitive and part of it's movement. But, this one master had told me long ago, Bill, if you can't change your mind, move your body.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
was like, wow, that's, now that's powerful. And the genius behind that, was something that is really fundamental to Cognomovement. And that is that the way our nervous system works, the way that this apathy stays put, is we don't use other parts of our brain. And the reason that we aren't using other parts of our brain is because we're not using our body to allow it to happen.
Yes, because the problem is not a brain only problem, it's a whole system problem, right?
The
That's
entire
why you
thing.
have to go to the body to change it.
Yeah. And literally, if you just started with your eyeballs, it's simple as that. There's probably people all over. I know there's obviously, this is one of the number one, the top 1% most downloaded podcast in the world of any podcast. So there's people out there listening to this right now, in the world, that are filled with despair, are filled with apathy, hopelessness, or you're in contact with somebody who is. If you look at them and you look at their eyes, or if it's you, their eyes are fairly fixed. They don't do a lot of movement of their eyes, which means they're literally in a very limited part of their brain. If you really observe, and once you start to get the eyes moving left and right, high, low, near, far, what happens is we're accessing other parts of the brain. And once we access other parts of the brain, they'll have new ideas. They'll have new feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. There's some really simple things that a person could do following what you're talking about, Bill. That the body and the brain, they're all one thing. The emotion is in all of it, not just one. And the signals get sent back and forth between the two, which is why Cognomovement is so effective, because we work both ends, right? Work the whole system. So the whole system needs a reboot, obviously, but it can be done simply by moving the eyes and moving the body, as in go outside for a walk and let your eyes look up at the sky. Look at the trees, look for birds. While you're moving your body, and when you walk, you do a bilateral movement. And if you swing your arms bilaterally, meaning opposite arm, opposite leg, and let your eyes move up, you immediately start to move out of that pattern. The problem is that we get complacent in these patterns. And if somebody gives you that advice, like you're hearing my advice today and you're in despair or apathy, you're like, oh, that's not going to work.
Of course.
I don't have the energy to do that. And we become a willing prisoner of apathy because we can't get out of our own way. So it does take enough of an ignition spark to just get up and do a simple movement. But looking up when you're outside, it is very inspiring. I would suggest anybody listening to this, if you have a minute right now, go out and look up at the sky. If you were able to go look at the sky and put your feet on the sand or the earth and walk just a little bit, you will find that your mood changes instantly and your thoughts change instantly. And you might get enough of an opening, just enough, to now have an idea of something else, the next step that you could possibly do. Now, that movement may not change it permanently because it may not actually rewrite the pattern in the body, but you're getting close. You're at least getting your brain to move into a part that can send the body a different kind of energy. Here's something to think about. You know, it's not just electricity that moves between the brain and the body, but it's hormones and chemicals. At a level of apathy, you're probably making next to no dopamine. Serotonin is probably low. My guess would be your melatonin's low. You're hardly sleeping or sleeping all day. Like they're all connected. It's all involved in this particular pattern. So all of it has to be changed a bit to get out of the rut. I call it to get up off onto the curb, off the road and onto the curb. Like it's one of those things that if people could understand that it's a lot more than just a thought running through your mind, but an entire physiological loop, you at any one of those places, you could start to create change. So some people might use supplements and that works, but it's still also limited. It's just one input. You know, people might use exercise, but it's only one input. They might just use their eyes and that might get closer, but it's still only one input. When you can put them all together, you can start to actually create a real change. We have to take a break, Bill McKenna. Well, let's break for our first commercial spot here from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. We're back. We're talking about the exciting topic of apathy. And, you know, what about people who are apathetic in just some areas of their life? Not entirely, but like they've got that one area where they've just flat out given up.
You know, I think that is one of the predominant themes in the entire world today. You know, geopolitical, climate, inside families, there's something, financial, whatever it might be. Almost everybody is like, you know what? I give up. That's it. But there is something that I want to point out that is massive. It is this thing right here. You probably got one. It's called an iPhone. Cell phone. If you've noticed in any restaurant, line, anywhere that you go, look at how many people are looking down at their phone and how often people are pulling these things out of their pocket or purse and looking at them. Now, they're looking at them down. They have it in front of themselves and lower. Their literal eyes are looking forward, they're fixed, and they're down. This is not trivial. I'll tell you why I knew that the rate of people ending everything for themselves, I knew it. I knew it when this phone came out. How did I know it? Well, and I told a bunch of people about this, is that when you look at somebody who's sad, where do they look? They look down. They're looking down. When we cry, typically we'll look down. When we're victorious and happy, or we're like divinely inspired, you've seen pictures of people praying, they're looking up. These are the more elevated emotions. So the thing is that when people are reading their texts, reading all of these things, everybody's experienced it where somebody misinterprets you. They're looking down. They're already predisposed to a negative emotion. And now everybody is just basically constantly 7/24 from the moment they get up to the moment they go to bed, focused on looking down. Of course they're in despair.
Yeah,
of course they're hopeless.
You're 100%
Of course they have
right.
apathy.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But it's not only just down. It's down and straightforward in this super limited window. If you look at people, it's like a little 4-inch window. No left, no right, no up, simply down and in this 4-inch window with a head position of down, an eye position of down too. That makes a big difference. What's the head position, right? So if you think about somebody who is really stuck, really in apathy, really just can't move, you kind of see this eye position of sort of down and straightforward. You might see their mouth hanging open as well, right? It's very, very static. I think that's the word, static. And it's not much different than this cell phone place. So the fact that so many people are feeling so much despair that they unalive themselves right now, it's not surprising. It's just not. They're holding themselves in that eye position up to 8 hours a day, maybe more for some people. You know, it really is, it's true. And then the things that you're looking through, scrolling, most people scrolling, you see them with this thumb movement. They're not even actually stopping. It's like in 5 seconds, 10 seconds as they pass through. And some people will scroll the same things 10 times in a day, just repetitive, just scrolling. And so, of course, people are stuck. Their bodies are stuck. They're in a bent down position in their neck and in their chest. Like they're not lifted up. They're not breathing, not deep breathing, not clearing out the crap off the brain with deep breathing or movement. Brains get slow, congested, and just plain down. You know, we've had been able to see some brain scans lately that show damage on the brain just from injuries and also from age. You could see that the brain actually does start to shrink in a lot of ways. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the brains of young people are starting to look like old people just because of this, that very singular eye movement and lack of physical movement as well.
Absolutely. Well, there's a lot of reasons for it. You know, the work of Dr. Daniel Amen of the Amen Clinics, they're wonderful scans. Everybody should Google it, you know, and look. What does alcohol do to your brain?
Yeah.
Literally, they have scans where they've proven this is what it looks like after 5-10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Marijuana, other, you know, cocaine, meth, all of these different drugs, they actually have a pattern of what they do in the brain. Now, when we're talking about this here, you already know what a pothead is going to act like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what somebody on meth is very, very different than some pothead.
Yeah.
You know, it's also, they operate differently than an alcoholic. You know, it's like, oh, I know what they're doing. I know what they're on. That's not good. You know, but you know what? You're not imagining it. There's actually areas of the brain that will actually deteriorate. And it's amazing to actually see this information now. Interestingly enough, you know, marijuana, it's actually on the scans worse than alcohol. It shrinks the brain more. So I found that to be very curious and interesting. It's also some of our practitioners are doctors and psychiatrists, and the psychiatrists say that 50% of all the schizophrenia is actually right before that happens, they have been smoking pot.
That is super interesting.
Isn't that interesting? I mean,
Really
you know, that's a definite thing to just keep in mind.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
I started off on one tangent and I got sidetracked, but I wanted to talk about a person who has some areas of life where they're apathetic and what that looks like. So if a person is in a really bad relationship, but let's say they're super functional in their job and they have friends, but at home it sucks, right? But it's a persistent thing that you've tried all the things and there doesn't seem to be anything to do about it. So around that area, you just don't change. You just stay as still as possible, not to rock the boat. I was talking to somebody who has an extended family issue, or they become apathetic about it. It doesn't seem like there's anything to be done about that. Just keep the status quo so that, the problem doesn't get bigger. Some people, it's finances. It's the thing that they hide from themselves, right?
Yes.
They can't do anything about this. So I'm just going to pretend that it doesn't exist. And what it looks like in session, when we work with people personally, everything goes still and their breathing goes really shallow. It's like, if I don't breathe, this thing doesn't exist. It looks like a little kid playing hide and seek. Like, let's stay as still as possible. And then maybe this problem won't notice me. It's really fascinating how the body gets involved in an area that's apathetic. So if you're hearing this and you're like, hey, I got all kind of thing going on, I'm productive. And you know that there's an area of your life that you've been ignoring, pretend that it doesn't exist. That's a place to look for apathy. And it's a place where on that subject, you probably look like that sort of empty stare, straightforward, mouth hanging open, like, I don't know what to do about this. What's interesting is that even if you're a very productive person and you have this place of apathy in your life, it acts like a buoy. I keep saying this all the time. It's like the rock on the bottom of a buoy, the anchor, and the buoy bobs up and down on the water, right? Moves left and right, but it really can't go anywhere. It has the look of movement, but it doesn't really move. Think about that. Are you a person in your life that you feel like you're moving around and there's activity, there's movement, but you never actually move truly forward? Apathy could be the cause of that, but it's just in this one area where if you don't breathe, it doesn't exist. So I don't think that's interesting.
I think that's a great analogy, because really it's your nervous system literally stuck running that same current. There's an electrical current. The definition of neurology? Your neurology is the carrier of an electrical charge. That's what it does. Yeah. So literally, if you look at it like, which it is, an electrical circuit, it's running through those same circuit. The electrical charge is running here, but not there, or there, but not here, whatever way you want to look at it. But, they have a saying, what fires together, wires together.
Yeah.
And you've known people. I had a grandmother. One of my grandmothers was basically, all we knew is she was in bed. And I mean, like, it's 2 p.m. Where's grandma? Oh, she's in bed. It's 3 p.m. It's 11 a.m. She's in bed, always in bed. And she would say, I'm not fit, not able. Anyway, but that's the way she lived, for a large portion of her life. And there's things that happen. The poor woman grew up in Ireland, and, her little brother died, like, whatever, 4 years old. And I think that she blamed herself, for that. And with that, lived a life in that kind of that despair. And when, you're in it, how do you get out? You don't really have a great way. You know, the knowledge we have today about the nervous system and how to process these horrible feelings, you know, that one has.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, we do need to take our next break and hear from our wonderful sponsors. We will be right back. Okay, and we're back. We've been talking about the fun topic of apathy and some ways to recognize whether or not it's in your life and if you're stuck. So if a person hears us talking about this, Bill, and all of a sudden they just recognize themselves like, oh, I just realized that I do have that situation over there that I cannot seem to get out of. What could they do? What's one thing besides getting up, walking outside, and looking up? We already gave them that. What's another thing a person could do in the moment to start to shift that? And the reason I'm asking is because when you're in apathy, you don't have a lot of new ideas. It feels very walled in, like a prison, right? So how can they get out right this second, even for a moment, so they can reach for a new idea?
So we'll give you one of the most simple cogno movement ways to begin. You might even be laying in bed, you know, you might be watching this from bed somewhere, listening it on to in your phone. And all you're going to do is open your eyes and begin to look upwards. And extremely slowly, when I say slowly, I mean the pace of a snail. Look across the ceiling till you get to the right wall. Look down the right wall, the pace of a snail. Don't allow yourself to skip anywhere, to skip forward. Physically look at the detail of the wall. When you get to the bottom of the wall, look across the floor, all the way down. Again, don't miss anything. When you get to the left wall, go up the left wall very slowly till you get to the ceiling, and then begin moving across the ceiling. As you're moving across the ceiling, down the wall, across the floor, up the other wall, at the pace of a snail, if you move quickly, this really is not going to work very well. Your nervous system needs a minute to respond. Those currents, those electrical signals need a second. Ask yourself a simple question. Is there something, a solution that I hadn't considered yet? And just allow it to move. Is there an aspect of the relationship, the finances, the loss of a loved one? Is there something, a perspective that I hadn't considered? Is there something that I could actually do? Something that's actually possible for me? The very first thing, the one thing. Could I get up and make my bed today? Could I get the laundry done? Could I just do that one thing? Notice what comes up. What comes up? This exercise is very simple, but what's going on here is that everywhere you look is a different part of your brain. There's going to be some places that are uncomfortable. You're going to get and look up to the left or right or down, and you're going to be like, whoa, that doesn't feel good. Or it feels like my eyes are stretching. Keep your head forward when you're doing this. The area that feels like it's kind of stretching, that's the area that you want to keep your eyes in. The problem and the solution are in the same place. Allow yourself just a few minutes to just look over there, as uncomfortable as it is. And then if it's too uncomfortable, keep going and come back to it. But complete the circle and then do it again. Breathe. Breathe when you're doing this. Whatever questions you might ponder, do this. Whether it's about relationships or even global events, concerns about the financial markets, whatever it might be. Just keep rotating your eyes. New information will inevitably come, and it will feel as natural as breathing because it's your brain. Your brain, it has the ability to naturally come up with solutions. It's been said that here on Earth, for every problem, we've been given a solution. The Amazon rainforest supplied so many of those with different plants. You name it. Humans have been alive forever, and we keep on finding solutions.
Well, this is a huge solution. Cognomovement is like having an owner's manual to your nervous system or your subconscious. The subconscious part deals with all of the things that we would call psychological. But the other part of it is every physical movement that we make is done with our nervous system. So Cognomovement is really like an owner's manual for that system that has been largely ignored. Everyone thought that it just does what it does and it can't be changed, but it's quite easily changed. Here's some other things you can do. Some really simple stuff. It's really about doing one thing different. One thing different. So if you do the exercise that Bill gave you, you might come up with that one thing different to do. But it could be as simple as this. If you have coffee in the morning, have orange juice instead. If you go to work by turning left, try turning right. Go a different direction. If the chair that you sit in aims north, aim it south. Literally find one thing that you can do different first thing in the morning. And then find one more thing that you can do just a little bit differently. If you use a pencil, use a pen, right? If you put your right sock on first, put your left sock on first. The system gets stuck in a pattern. If you can get out of that pattern in any way, shape, or form, you can start to see other possibilities. In our lives, we are hypnotized constantly by the hum and thrum of a regular everyday day, just doing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Before you know it, you're doing most things on autopilot. Autopilot, unfortunately for human bodies, is not a good thing. You're going to end up in the mountain, right? Like crashed right into the mountain. You need to be able to instruct your own nervous system. You need to be able to actually be the pilot and drive the plane, fly the plane, so that you can get to where you want to go. This thing of apathy really is an external and internal representation of being on autopilot, being stuck, being in one place. Another thing you can do is really just breathe. Bill said it, but it's one of those things. Stop and take a deep breath. Stop and take 3 deep breaths. Whatever the heck you're doing, stop and make sure your lungs are as full as they can be, and then let it out slowly. Take a fast breath in and let it out slowly. Take a slow breath in and let it out quickly. Even your breath could be something different. That could be the catalyst for getting you to find one new solution. One new solution can snowball and turn into 1,000 solutions, but it's about changing one thing. And if you'll notice that everything Bill and I talked about today was a physical thing you could do. You have it in your own body. You don't have to go out, and buy a piece of equipment to do it. You literally just start to change your own body, and that will change your mind. This is the thing we've said again and again, if you're hearing us for the first time, that your body has to react first and send a signal to your brain. It has to be that way. The body wants to keep you safe, so it has to react to stimulus, and then your brain catches up later. It's the limbic system that goes into gear. The frontal lobes get left out of those decisions because they're too slow, and they'll catch up later. So we want to be more in that state where we do have full access to that logical mind, full access to flying the plane, and less where our body simply is creating a reaction based on some old news, some old information, and really be able to make real changes in real time. So really as simple as juice instead of coffee, or coffee instead of juice, right? A bagel instead of a piece of toast, a piece of fruit instead of a piece of toast, and start the ball rolling.
Brilliant, Liz. I am so happy we got after this today. All of this, we should mention that there's a big event coming up in September. It is an event that is life-changing. It is brutal. I mean, I have to use the word, it's probably the toughest thing you've ever done in your life. I ran years ago, I ran an event called the Western States 100. At the time, it was considered the world's toughest endurance event. It was 100 miles through the mountains up from Squaw Valley to Auburn, 114 degrees at the hottest point, snow at its coldest point, crossing the American River in the middle of the night. But I'll tell you what, this event is challenging as that in a different way. However, if you do the event, you're going to come out the other side a changed human. And why I say that is that we're utilizing all of these changes to the nervous system, which are the reactions, the automatic feelings we have of shame, guilt, grief, humiliation, anger, fear, resentment, blame, all of these negative feelings that we have about our whole life get processed over this 5-day period. We also go beyond that to trust, forgiveness, love, joy, bliss. This ladder that we go up, we enable a person to transform very quickly. It's called Cogno Conscious. It's in September. I don't know. Liz has got the website. She'll give it to you.
Yeah, cognomovement.com/upcoming events, or just come to cognomovement.com and look at our event section. If you think you want to come to this and you're afraid of how hard it would be, there's something you can do ahead of time. It's called Elevate and Illuminate. You can see it on the upcoming events as well. and it's a pregame for that event. You can start right away and get going in. And by the time you get to the event, you're ready. You're ready for that marathon. You've trained. So it's an amazing, fun, beautiful, absolutely super high consciousness event. And I invite you all to come to it and come meet Bill and I face to face. San Diego, beautiful, sunny California. All right, you guys, come to the end of this session for today. We will see you guys all again next week. Please let us know if you tried these things and if they worked for you. Cognomovement.com. You can leave us a message. All right, you guys, we'll talk soon. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.